It's nice to have all of you lovely people on
Trend.
That's Roti, my co-host. Roti, please, can you just tell us what we are talking about today before I get everybody to introduce themselves?
Well, good evening, everyone, and
Hi,
welcome
Roti.
to Trend. Today we'll be talking about fathers.
Like
Yes.
Roti said, today we're discussing the father, the place of the father. And the big question is, where are the fathers? Where have they gone? And this topic is come about because of what Mr. Briggs and Mr. Brown talked about on Sunday in church about Father's Day. Mr. Brown, I'll start from you. You started by telling us the acronyms of a father. And from the letters that make up father, you gave us the qualities that a father could be. I don't know if you have it with you there. If you can share one or two, if you can, fine. Are you able? Do you have them with you?
Are you sure I still remember what everything?
Okay, so then let me start from you by asking you, what are the qualities of a good father?
Well, in line with the acronym discussed on Sunday, the very first letter, F, stands for faithful. And some of the attributes of a faithful father, it's someone that is selfless, someone that will always be there, someone that will always support, someone that will give all, when I mean all, everything to ensure that that their children get everything that they need in some way.
All right, that's very kind of you. At least you remembered more than half of what you said. So that means you've said it from your heart. I was going to get you there, that you just read and delivered. Or maybe you know them in your heart. But it looks like you know what you're saying. All right, that's good. I brought all these guests here because they're different category. Rati, my co-host, has a lot of questions for the men as well. But I brought these young ladies for them to talk about fatherhood and what they expect from a man. Yeah, because that's where it starts. They first of all be a husband before they become a father. And somehow, so in my own opinion, the fathers have failed us in so many ways. So I have Bumi and Roti to talk from the perspective of a wife. And I have the two young ladies to talk from the perspective of daughters. Both of them have fathers and you've experienced fatherhood and what you expect from the man you will call your husband. So Uncle Briggs, now to you. You preached about, and that really triggered this talk today. You preached about the place of a man in the society is being underestimated, under-celebrated. Like people are no longer celebrating the men. It's all about the women. Could you just talk more, give us a brief of a paraphrase of what you discussed on Sunday, please?
Well, I know we did. I did say that when you talk about fathers, it's such a large topic. It's wide. It's not something you can actually deal within a 1 hour session, because it's taken the devil thousands of years to try to destroy the place of a father, and he still hasn't succeeded. But he's still on the journey to destroy that place. And I know research proved that the biggest crisis in any nation or any community is not the crime itself, it's not the lack of employment, it's not the challenges people go through on a daily basis, but it's the absence of a father. And I said society to a great extent. I know there's I don't know if it's a Yoruba adage or an African proverb that says that when you see a child, that it is not just the parents that have brought him up, but the whole community in itself. So using that illustration, you realize that the place of a father is fast disappearing because the community in itself, the society in itself, family in itself have failed to recognize the role fathers do play. And I did make an instance where I said, if you go about, it's easy to Google and see role models of popular people. When they make statements, they say, my mother, my mother, my mother, my mother. And no one has ever actually corrected them or even asked them, so what about your father? So the society over time has built communication to be surrounded around mothers, not because the mothers, I'm not saying this because the mothers are not doing what they need to do, but it is all the scheme of the devil to ensure that praise and recognition is no longer given to the father. Because he knows if that is achieved, then the place of father fast disappears within society. And even in our basic homes, you see mothers without any blame or pointing fingers at them, they unconsciously say, do you know all I've done for you? Do you know, if not for me, this wouldn't have happened. So the child grows up hearing, if not for you, if not for me, if not for me, if not for me. The father is out there all the day working, not being around, and the mother is spending more time with the son and the children and telling the children, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So that child grows up knowing only the mother and not the father. And as a youth leader, whenever we try to do programs, we struggle to find even poems. We struggle to find songs dedicated to fathers. It's quite easy to just Google and you just see a lot of thousands of songs dedicated to mothers. All this is a scheme of the devil framing the mindset and changing the mindset of men being recognized for their place. So their hard work, their efforts is not being recognized. Their contributions are not being recognized. Their egos are not being promoted or even supported. So they just find themselves disappearing and diminishing. And before you know what's happening, they are unable to play the role they need to play as fathers.
Thank you very much.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah, I will stop you there. So because of all these reasons, they are unable to play the role of a father. Roti, I'll start with you. What have you got to say to what Mr. Briggs has just said?
Quite honestly, part of what Mr. Briggs just said is quite true. And if you look at it, and there's a saying that says, there are fathers, and there are fathers. Fathers are different from fathers, yeah? If you put them into categories, you will see that there are different kinds of fathers, just like there are different kinds of mothers. However, we're not saying that there isn't no good fathers, but even if you look at the statistics of the good fathers, I will say even in the African world, we hardly find good fathers as role models. Yeah, a lot of fathers, we don't find them. There are plenty, according to statistics, there are about almost 30 or 25% of single mothers out there who were playing the role of both the father and the mother. However, not to talk about the decent and honorable fathers who were doing their work, who are working diligently. I think the reason why we hear much about the mothers is because the women are playing the very good role as the mother, staying at home, not because we're not working. Majority of us here, as you can tell, we all have a very good job, but we still play the roles of our mothers when we get home. Some fathers get home and they're tired and all what they want to do is eat and go to bed. Some fathers get home, they still want to ask about their children. How was your work today? Have you done your homework? Have you done this? But majority of the fathers leave everything to the mothers to do.
All right. Thank you for that, Roti. That is very on point. That's a massive point. I'm going to go back to Bumi now, my friend. Bumi, I'm talking in the perspective of your wife. So do you think the fathers are being unfairly estimated, like we've taken their place unjustly, or have they, like, do they deserve what they're getting?
Well, thank you so much. Like the pastor said, I actually supported some part of what he said, but I do not want him to blame the devil. Because the devil, God said we have power over the devil. You have a willpower over devil. I actually want to blame the men, really, because men don't give enough time to their families anymore. That's why we have lots of women performing the man's role in the home. Let me tell you one thing. I'm not talking about men generally here, but 80% of men spend time more out there. Some men will go to work. Yes, they are struggling to go to work, look for money, which is actually most times not enough for the home. But they will spend more time at home. From work, some will go to the club to drink beer, to hang around with friends. I don't know what they do there. And they come back home tired. If a man with the responsibility of what God has given unto him, because it's not our problem, it's God that said a man should be the head of the home. And a man cannot be a father A man cannot be a father without loving his wife.
Mm.
That's the truth. If
That's
you're a
another
father,
dimension to it.
if you're a father, you don't love your wife, you can never be a good father. Because whatever you do to the children of the home, the woman will not appreciate it. She will tend to love her children more. And when she loves her children more, the children will, of course, love her more because you are not always there as a father.
All right.
Do you
Thank you,
understand what
darling.
I'm saying, Folashade?
Yeah. On that point, I'm
that
going
is
to
it.
sorry? On that last point you just made, which is very interesting, children and the relationship of the child to their father. So I have young ladies here who have fathers. Can I start from Dami? Dami, could you tell us if you think the men have played their role as fathers properly? Do you think the women are trying to outdo them, or it's just come natural with the women for what they do?
I'm just gonna start with there's no right or wrong way to be a dad. I think
I disagree with you.
no, there isn't a guidebook to be a dad.
Yeah,
There isn't a guidebook to be a mom.
There is.
There is.
So I think women are naturally a lot more nurturing. We're just a lot more caring. We're a lot more loving. That's why I think we respond well to our children. However, I think that Uncle Brick said something that stuck by me, that, you know, the guys have been pushed to a pedestal, and this is more men, not fathers. It's the fact that you guys have had your time. Not that you still don't, you're still very important. But I think we're living in an age when women should be appreciated, and women should come forward and play a more significant role. And I think that's why it's being spoken about a lot, is because feminism is a real thing. And for a very, very long time, it's been a man's world, in the words of, I forgot what that singer is. But I do think that fathers try their best, but I'm speaking from my experience anyway, Sha. Fathers try their best, and I know you guys are saying there is, but I think maybe we children, we shouldn't be so hard on them. I think when we receive such great care from our mothers, for example, we almost sort of compare it, maybe not even knowing it, that, oh, but mommy does this and mommy does that, and I can speak to mommy about this. But then I think what Uncle Briggs said is also important, that we actually don't, maybe because we don't know the significance of it, pay attention to the fact that, well, daddy is paying the bills and daddy is doing this, and if daddy doesn't do what he's doing, certain things won't happen. But I think the conversation is to have between the father and the child as to what ways can they balance the work and relationship aspects of their lives. That's mine.
Thank you very much for that. I'm coming to Debbie. Debbie, I know you're a daddy's girl. That's why I'm picking you last. I know you'll tilt towards siding daddy. But let me ask you, do you think the men have been there for their children, the fathers? The question is, where are the fathers? Are they there when you really need them?
It's very difficult for me because I've lived two very different lives. I've lived a life with my mom and dad in the house, and I've lived a life with just my mom in the house. So with me, I feel like when I had my dad around, I felt like he sort of took advantage of the fact that his kids were always there and his family was just always there. And I think with men, a lot of times they just feel like they have to provide alone. I feel like that's the only sort of support that they feel like they need to provide. Whereas, and kudos to you if you're providing for your family, but I feel like there's a lot more you can do aside from providing. And I feel like, you know, in support of what Auntie Bumi said, and contrary to what Uncle Briggs said, was I don't believe the devil has anything to do with this. I believe that men have put themselves in the position where they're in now. I feel like men expect women to teach them a lot all the time. I don't feel like the onus is on women to teach you everything. I shouldn't have to teach you. I shouldn't have to remind you to be a dad. I shouldn't have to tell you to come home to take care of your kids. I shouldn't have to tell you to put in the time to take care of your kids. You should know because it's a two-man effort. I didn't have this child on my own. In my opinion, I feel like, you know, the way I see things is when I was growing up, the relationship I had with my dad was because he just put himself out there as a provider. The only way I knew how to relate to my dad was to ask him for stuff rather than actually sit around and be like, oh, dad, you know, this is what happened at school today. I felt like I had that kind of relationship more with my mum. And I feel like even more than anything, it kind of ruined my relationship with my mum in a way, because my mum was always a disciplinarian. So it becomes a case where if I want to get my way, I know I wouldn't go to my mom, I'd go to my dad. And it kind of causes a rift as well, because you don't realize, you know, but it kind of teaches you as a kid as well how to go about getting your way with things as a grown up as well. A lot of things that you learn as a kid affects you as an adult. I feel like there's an onus of men to put more effort into being there emotionally. I can say for my dad, like since we've been here, since we've been like without him, I think the fact that his family is not there all the time, when he does come, when he is around, he goes above and beyond to then do more than, which is like, there's things I do with my dad now that I should have been doing with my dad when I was younger, which is like the opposite. It's weird. Like the opposite. Like now my dad is more of a disciplinarian and my mom is more understanding, because she's been with us through the developmental stages and understanding why we do things. Whereas my dad now is just taking up the role of the disciplinarian, which is weird, because it's like, to him now he's just concentrating on us as individuals and understanding us, and he's forgetting that he's missed out all these years and we're not the little kids that we used to be. So I feel like with men, it's so easy to blame women and say, oh, you know, you're the reason why my kids don't do this, you're the reason why my kids see me this way, but it's not her fault. You have a part to play as well. And if you were there all the time and you were providing and you were supporting your kids emotionally, they wouldn't have to think, oh, mommy's always there. It's only so much she can do. The reason why they go to mommy all the time is because mommy is there.
Always
if
there.
Daddy was there as well, they would be like, oh, daddy is there too. So I don't think it's just mommy. I think, you know, kids pick up on a lot more than people think. Kids are very aware more than a lot of adults think, more than a lot of parents think. Kids just don't say things just so they don't want to make their parents feel bad or feel like they're not doing enough. There's a lot of things kids keep in, and I don't think that blaming the mom is necessarily right.
Thank you for that, Debbie. Thank you very much. That's awesome. So I'm coming back to the men now, and I will give every other person the opportunity to ask your own questions, not just me asking. So let me just ask the final questions to the two men. So Mr. Brown, can I ask you, do you think it is the devil? Because I don't know why Brother Briggs thinks it has to be the devil that is doing this. Why would you even think that it is the devil? The devil will not do what the men have not helped the devil to do. If the devil sells it to the men and they bought it, so should we be blaming the devil or we blaming the men? I think the men should take ownership of their error, so to speak, like Debbie said. Because do you think that the men have failed us as fathers? Talking about, looking at it from the perspective of the ratios of single parents. You know, when a man, a married man with children chooses to leave the home, leave everything, the responsibility of the running of the home, the children, you leave everything, go to somewhere else and start a new life, leaving your family behind. Do you think that is the devil, Mr. Brown?
Oh, thank you. I mean, Debbie, that was well said about fathers generally. And I mean, everything that has been said has been well said. Before I come to the devil part, now the expectation from a father, I would say a father must be faithful, must be available, he must be teachable, he must be a good example to the children, must be very, very responsible. So any man that misses out on this as a father has missed the point. Now, coming back to the issue of whether it's the devil or not the devil, I don't think the devil has anything to play in this area.
Not at all.
I think, to me, generally, I think circumstances, environment, your economic situations. Now, the thing with men generally is if a man cannot provide, cannot meet the immediate needs of his family, it's a major, major, major issue. So men cannot stand that. They walk out of the home. And that's the way men are wired. by the time you realize that you're lacking from meeting those basic needs, that, like Debbie said, my dad has always been from a position of providing. And that's the way most men sees, you know, that's the way they are wired to understand their responsibilities. But it goes beyond that. We talked about emotionally, a father should be there for the children. Physically, he should be there financially. So mentally, a man should be there to support throughout the lifespan of, you know, as a child. But once a man, the most important thing is that point of provision. If he cannot meet those provisions financially, now I'm speaking, it becomes a major problem.
Okay.
And when you say men goes to club, Bumi said some men goes out there to work, and when they finish working, they go to the pub. Now, when you know that when you come back home, there are needs that you cannot meet, it becomes a problem. You just need an avenue to just leave the home. And there are also
wives. I come in there? Okay.
And there are also wives that are not that accommodating when a man cannot meet those provisions. And some could be very, very nagging. And so a man finds all the excuses to leave the home. And then he starts failing in his responsibilities. And so the environment or circumstances causes all this. Now, like Debbie said, his father is far away. He's not living in the same place where she is with the mother. So you could see circumstances create that. So when the man comes back, like Debbie, I love that analysis. When he comes back, he wants to be that disciplinarian and wants to look at why these children, why are they behaving this way? Forgetting that 10 years has passed, they've grown, they have their own life to live now. And so those are some of those things. But majorly a man, when he's financially handicapped, it's a major problem.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. I'll just take the quick. Bumi wanted to ask a question, so Bumi, can you
Engineer Brown. If a man cannot provide for his home as a head of a family, what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to go back to God that made him the head of that home. That is it.
He's supposed to go back to God.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He's supposed to go back to God. That's a man that's at peace with God. Okay. You know, when you're at peace with God, you know where to run to. You know where you draw your strength from. But not all men are at peace with God.
So a man can quarrel with God. Can fall out with God.
You can quarrel with God when things are not working out. You know, a lot of some people are good at managing emotional stress when they can. And, you know, they can easily crawl back to God. But others, they don't know. Some will just leave the home and go somewhere else to, you know.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, let me move on to Mr. Briggs. Sorry, darling. Saramont, if you have any question, I will give you the moment in a minute. Mr. Briggs.
Okay.
Like, I really wish I could tear you into pieces but to be honest, that message got me thinking and started appreciating men. I feel sorry for them. You put yourself in a vulnerable position when you said they are not celebrated. They deserve to be celebrated, but like the ladies have said, or everybody has said, especially the young ladies in the house, the men have failed. Well, we may not believe it's their fault. Like Mr. Brown said, if they cannot meet the financial needs of their family, they become like not at peace to come home. But my question to you now is that enough reason for you to abandon your family, children to feed, and the wife, and bills to pay, and relocate and go and marry somebody else, even in the same town where the wife is living? Is that the reason why you would do that? Is that enough reason for you?
Well, I'll answer that question. There is no justification for a man to fail in his place as a father. All what you've described is failures. And I do agree mostly with some of the things others have actually said. Just to correct our lovely daughter Eliora, who said there is no guide for fathers or husband. There's a guide. The Holy Bible is the first guide for you there. So you have more than enough guidance on how to be a father, the Bible. So that is your first reference point. But before, there is no justification and no excuse. The Bible will say that it is only a lazy man that says there's a lion in the streets. When you begin to give excuses for your failure, then you're a failure in yourself. But that takes me back. I see along the line, some of you have chipped in God around your discussions. And as I will still stand firm on my position that except you understand the spiritual principles and the heavenly principles that govern our existence on earth, then you will know that the battle you are engaged in your homes is not a physical battle. There are men and fathers who are providing for their family and their children. They are still not playing the roles of father. There are men who are actually providing and being there, providing care, going on trips with the family, bonding and everything, but they're still unable to play the role of a father. The Bible says Christ is the head of the church as the man is, essentially puts it away. He recognizes the man first. So the man is the head of his wife as Christ is the head of the church. So God had to recognize the place of the man because God knows that without the father and the man on earth, he cannot fulfill his role. And that's why he had to come in the person of Jesus Christ, because he knew as God the Spirit, he can't operate except he comes and dwells as man. So he had to, in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, he goes ahead and says that the man is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. God was trying to operate a principle. The whole of that Ephesians chapter 5 talks about the Christian home. Now, why did I say the devil plays a role? Ever from Genesis, every single attempt is for the devil to destroy the place of the man. Because he knows when the place of the man is destroyed, their families are broken. The role of a father can never be substituted or replaced. No woman can replace the role of a father. It's a different ballgame. A woman can be a virtuous woman, as you see Exodus 31, but she cannot be the father. God has a role the father plays, and that's what the Bible says. The father is a priest of the home, not the mother. It's the father that is a priest of the home, and it's that spiritual channel that the devil is trying to destroy. Because he knows when the father is not in the home, then that spiritual connection is not in its fullness of capacity. And it destroys the role and the patriarch role God has tried to create on earth. Because he knows you take the father out of the picture. I'm not saying women are not doing what they need to do. I'm not saying women are not fulfilling their parts as mothers. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that once the devil breaks that position of a man, then he breaks the home. And that is why.
Leave the house to throw the question.
Can I come in there? Can I just say something?
Well, let me find out if Ronti has something to say. Ronti,
okay.
Say something first.
Well, after listening to everybody, there are 3 things I just want to talk about. From the beginning, ever since I'm in my 50s, from the beginning, it has always been father's fetching and mother home. I don't know why that is, and why I don't know, maybe it's something of culture or something that we just think it's of a norm, that it has to be the father going to work. But if you look at nowadays, both men and women are both working. We all go to work, we all earn. In a home where there is peace, where there is love, money or any, I'm the one paying this. These days, the bills are being shared in some homes. Some homes just sit down and say, okay, this is what you're going to be doing. This is what I'm going to be doing. But that gap is still there in some homes, whereby in some homes, the mother even still pays the bills and she still runs the home. I quite understand where Mr. Briggs is coming from. There is no way a woman can play the role of a man. However, in some instances, it's happening where the woman is just like, I don't care if you don't come, the bills are being paid, nothing is being lacked, the kids are going to school, they're graduating, this is happening, a lot is happening in their lives. And all the children are seeing is mom doing this, paying bills, so you want this, go to your mother. In some homes, it's so common. Even when I was growing up, my dad just thinks that when it's month end and she's giving my mom the allowance and everything, so if we need little things, we need to go to our mom. And in some instances, that in a place where, some fathers still don't want their wives to work. They want to say, okay, you stay at home, you start, taking care of the children while I go to work. But I just think that things are changing a bit. And I quite get where Mr. Briggs is coming from, to be honest. it has always been something that has been said since, like in the Yoruba adage that says that Yani Wura, Babani Jigi, you know, and that has always stuck into my head. And I've asked my mom that question, that why did they say that the mother is the Wura and the father is the mirror? And it's something that I always sit down and I've sat down a lot of time and I start thinking, why must my father be the mirror? Why am I looking at my father as a mirror? You know, and that is the question that I'm going to ask the fathers again. Now, this is one question I want to ask Mr. Brown and Mr. Briggs. Why are you the mirror?
Okay, let's take the question from the ladies. You want to say something after Auntie Bumi? Bumi,
Okay.
ask your question, then I'll give opportunity for this.
Well, I'm not asking any
spoken
question.
much. Sorry, go on.
I just want to buttress pastors. Yeah, pastor, his points. That
Briggs.
you know they. Mr. Briggs. Mr. Briggs. You
He's
see,
a pastor,
this,
he's a youth pastor in the church.
Okay, a pastor, not pastor, anyhow.
No, he's a pastor, but I just want, for the purpose of this show, we'll call him Mr.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, Mr. Briggs. When a man, brain fat. Okay, what I was about to say is, this issue we're talking about is phenomenal. You know why it's like that? Because we came into the, oh, my battery is low. Oh my God. Okay, let me just quickly say this. It's becoming phenomenal because we have seen our fathers do that over the years. And when the women are at home alone with the children, you know, we are churning out future husbands who will not stay at home too. That's why I'm saying that the men should be cautious nowadays, because if you are not home, your wife is putting everything she has on especially the male children, they're going to turn out to be what their dad was. So it keeps going round. It's a circle. It keeps going round and round. So men just have to be at home.
So
before my battery goes off. Yeah.
All right, Dami, what do you want to contribute anything to this?
I don't know. I feel like I just agree with what everybody's saying, like a little bit of what everybody's saying. It's just the issue, like Uncle Briggs said in the beginning of it all, is something that definitely needs multiple episodes or definitely more than 1 hour. And I think it also needs different perspective. I think I really liked the way that Debbie spoke about it from two guys' point of view, as in always living with their mom and then a dad coming into the picture. But I also think there's so many different instances of children. So I would like to hear different children's point of views. With dads, it's a difficult one for me because I really appreciate my dad, and I think I'm a lot like him in the sense that I understand why he's doing what he's doing. So maybe that's why I'm not really able to relate that, oh, they're not as important, because I understand the importance of my dad, and I know that he's never really gave me or put me in a position to ever feel that if I do need to speak to him, I can't speak to him. I think there's a difference in that. And I get what Debbie is saying as well, in the sense that, yeah, when they are far away, the connection is there. But if they've made it known that, or they've not closed themselves to you and they've made it known that I am your father, and sometimes I'm not always here, but don't ever feel like my role can be replaced, or don't ever feel like your importance to me is not as significant. And I think I really appreciate my dad that, yes, he goes out and he also brings the money, but he also makes it very important to speak to me and to know that I am very valued as much as his work is. So I think that's why I don't really have much to say. But yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Dami. Mr. Briggs, I'll ask one more question. Like, do you blame the women if in the absence of his presence, her presence becomes dominating? She takes charge and becomes the man in the house. You cannot blame her for that, can you? Because that position needs to be filled, needs to be occupied. Like Roti said, he is the mirror. The mirror is that image that we see and judge ourselves. It's like, look at ourselves. That's the person you want to be like, you know. So you look at the mirror, you look at your father, you see the person you should be like. But in that absence of that figure, that father mirror figure, somebody needs to fill the place, and that's what the women are doing now. You cannot blame them for it. And I want to say most of them are doing very good job with it. And especially, what about when they become widowed? Do you blame them for stepping into the shoes of the husband or the father in the house?
I will answer your question. Very good question, Sister Shade. Very, very good question. You see, the mirror, I don't know that proverb. What is Wura? I don't know what is Wura.
Wura is gold.
Wura is gold. Okay, and then the man is a mirror.
Yeah.
Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. Say, be ye imitators of Christ. Clearly, not only that verse. Be ye imitators of Christ. Who has Christ been likened unto in the scripture? The man. So maybe that's connected to that proverb. I'm hearing the proverb for the very first time. But you see, when the old, I think it's Jeremiah 6:16, it says, when if you want to know how the future is going to be, then ask for the ancient landmarks. Speak to the elders to understand what's been happening in the past. We've made a lot of references to a lot of physical environments and physical things. You see, I'm going a level higher. I'm saying all these things we are talking about, they are not providing, they are not being there, they are not this, they are not adorable, they are not teachable, they are not available, they are not accessible, they are not faithful. All these things are offshoots from them missing their place in the first instance, which is the point where the enemy is attacking. He's attacking the main point, the spiritual point of it. When you fail in the spiritual point of it, the physical is already failed. And that's the angle. As I said, it is a multifaceted way to deal with the issue of fatherhood. And you can't deal with it in one discussion. But if you understand that spiritual role, then you will know that when the spiritual section has been missed, the physical part will be missed. Going to your question, which says the woman now plays the role. Who is the husband of the widow?
God.
Is it the absence of the father in the house that becomes a husband to the widow? No, it is God. When the father is not there, who replaces the father? God. Because God has made it clear in the scriptures, so many places, the father is irreplaceable. He is the only one that can replace the role of a father. I'm not saying the women are not doing what they need to do. I'm not saying women have not done what they need to do. What I'm saying is the recognition of that spiritual principle that women are missing out. Yeah, even Jesus even made it clear that, look, you can't separate the love of a mother from her son. Because that woman has nurtured that baby for 9 months. She has spent more time taking care of that baby. You can't separate it. But what we're saying, some women would take advantage of that position to sell themselves more to their children and sell their father less. That is just in the physical. But if they understand the spiritual and they know that everything that the devil ultimately wants to do is to destroy the place of a father, then they will actually spend more time elevating the role of a father even when he goes out. Check out, the only punishment or the main punishment God gave to man is that you must go and toil the ground to feed your house. And that's why the man has been designed mechanically to go and toil the ground and to be outside. And he's now missing out the spiritual part which God said you are the priest of your home. Once the priestly position is missed out, the father he sees this to become a father. He's just a figurine in the house.